Ladies and gentlemen, buckle your seatbelts. Because hip-hop just turned into the Wild Wild West, and the bullets flying are made of pure pettiness. Big Meech, the legend of BMF, is reportedly heated after none other than Mr. Petty King himself. 50 Cent clowned him over a jaw-dropping $120 million scandal tied to Rick Ross. And trust me, it isn't just tea. This is lava-hot burn-your-tongue gossip that makes the Kardashians look like sesame. Street puppets. Think about it. $120 million. That's not money. That's a Marvel movie budget. That's buy a small country and rename it Pettyville money. And when Raw's name is in the mix, you already know the scandal smells thicker than a Wingstop chicken basket. But here's the kicker. 50 Cent didn't just clown Big Meech. He publicly dragged him with the grace of a WWE heel turn. Now, Meech is fuming like a barbecue pit in July, while the internet is watching like it's the Super Bowl halftime show. This isn't just beef. This is history, money, betrayal, and pure disrespect colliding in the most chaotic way possible. And the worst part? We've only scratched the surface. Big Meech, 50 Cent, Rick Ross. 3 names that, on their own, could headline chaos. But put them in the same sentence with $120 million attached. That's not drama. That's a nuclear war dressed up as a rap beef. And the world is watching with popcorn in one hand and Twitter open in the other. Let's rewind. Because for anyone who's been living under a rock, or worse, still pretending to like Ja Rule, Big Meech isn't just some random dude. He's the co-founder of BMF, Black Mafia Family. A name that carries more weight in the streets than a double cheeseburger in Lizzo's fridge. Meech built an empire off hustle, ambition, and enough street credibility to fuel 50 Gangster. Movies to this day, people call him a legend, an icon, a real-life Scarface. But legends don't like being clowned, especially not by 50 Cent. Because if there's one thing 50's addicted to besides vitamin water checks and trolling, it's humiliating people publicly. He's not just petty, he's the Shakespeare of petty, the Picasso of humiliation, the Michael Jordan of gotcha moments. He doesn't clap back, he claps forward, dragging your entire existence into the dirt before you even open your mouth. And now he's set his sights on Big Meech. So here's what allegedly went down. Somewhere in the messy intersection of music, branding, and ego, a scandal bubbled up involving Rick Ross and a jaw-dropping $120 million deal. Yep, you heard that right. Not 12, not 20, but $120 freaking million. Enough money to make Elon Musk blink twice. And in this scandal, Ross's name is all over the paperwork, like hot sauce on his fingers. Apparently, this was supposed to be some kind of mega move in branding, licensing, and empire building. The kind of deal that cements your name not just in hip-hop, but in history. But like every Ross plan that sounds too good to be true, this one allegedly started cracking at the seams. The whispers say money wasn't adding up, receipts weren't matching, the numbers were funny. And suddenly, the phrase $120 million scam started circulating like wildfire. Enter 50 Cent. Of course, now, 50 doesn't just sip tea. He brews the entire pot, adds cayenne pepper, and throws it in your face. So when rumors of this scandal hit the blogs, he didn't hold back. He allegedly clowned Big Meech for even being adjacent to this mess, cracking jokes about how Ross, who once pretended to be a correctional officer, somehow managed to scam harder than Wall Street bankers. Think about that. 50 basically implied that Big Meech, the architect of BMF, a man who built an empire from the streets, just got finessed in broad daylight by the same dude who makes Maybach music ad-libs. That's not just shade. That's solar eclipse level. Disrespect. And Meech. Oh, Meech was reportedly heated like a hot comb on prom night. The streets say he didn't take kindly to 50 turning his name into a punchline. And if there's one thing you don't do, it's embarrass a man whose entire brand is built on respect. The first wave of reactions was pure chaos. Fans went nuts online. Memes started rolling out faster than stimulus checks. One meme showed Ross holding Monopoly money with the caption, "Here's your cut, Meech." Another showed 50 photoshopped as Judge Judy, smirking with the caption, "Case dismissed." Where it turned into a courtroom and everyone wanted a seat in the jury. But let's zoom out. Why does this sting so badly? Because Meech isn't just anyone. His name is still being shouted in rap lyrics like a badge of honor. His son, Lil Meech, is literally starring as him in 50's BMF series on Starz. That's right, 50 is not just a troll. It's basically directing a biopic about Meech's life. Which means any joke 50 cracks isn't just shade, it's branding. It's PR. It's shaping how an entire generation sees Meech. So when 50 took aim, it wasn't just one petty tweet. It was a cultural earthquake. Suddenly, the legend of Big Meech had a dent. Suddenly, the conversation shifted from BMF built. Empire's 2 BMF just got played in a $120 million circus. And you already know the streets live for that kind of irony. Fans started dissecting the receipts. YouTube commentators went live with titles like exposing the $120 million raw steal. Podcasters with 3 listeners suddenly became financial analysts, breaking down the scam like they were auditioning for CNBC. Everyone wanted in on this mess. Because when money and ego collide, the internet smells blood. And let's not forget Rick Ross, Mr. Wingstop himself, Mr. Lemon Pepper Flow. Of course, his name being tied to a scandal this size was just fuel for 50's jokes. 50 mocked him relentlessly, hinting that Ross was out here moving funny money while pretending to be the boss. Imagine being roasted by someone who still brings up Ja Rule every chance he gets. That's the level of trolling Ross and Meech had to endure. Meanwhile, insiders whispered that Meech wanted to clap back, that he wasn't about to let 50's trolling slide. But here's the thing, Meech isn't on social media the way 50 is. He doesn't have the luxury of turning every insult into a viral post. Anger simmered behind the scenes, and that's where it gets dangerous. Cause a man like Meech doesn't do subtweets, he does real-life check dash-ins, and fans know it. That's why the reaction wasn't just laughter, it was tension. People started asking, is this about to get real? Is 50 poking a bear he doesn't want to fight? Or is Meech just going to let his silence speak volumes? Either way, the anticipation was thicker than Rick Ross's diary after a cheat day. By the end of that first wave, the internet was split into 2 camps. Team 50, laughing at the circus, calling him the goat of pettiness. And Team Meech, who saw this as disrespectful to a man whose legacy should be untouchable. One fan wrote, "Clowning. Meech over money is like clowning Jordan for missing 1 shot. Stop playing." Another tweeted, "If Meech gets mad enough, 50 better start sleeping with one eye open." The scandal had officially escaped the blogs and become street gossip. And when street gossip turns into mainstream headlines, you already know the story's just getting started. If you thought 50 Cent roasting Big Meech over a $120 million scandal was peak drama, you're wrong. That was just the appetizer. The real meal. The internet, celebrities, and every wannabe commentator in the game turning this beef into a cultural circus so loud. Even the Kardashians were like, "Can y'all chill? You're stealing our headlines." Let's start with the obvious. When 50 Cent clowns someone, the world listens. This man once ended Ja Rule's entire career with a few tweets and a front-row concert seat scam. So when he set his sights on Meech, celebrities lined up like it was open. Mike Knight at a comedy club. Everyone wanted to get a joke in, everyone wanted to sip the tea, and everyone wanted clout off the fallout. Rick Ross, of course, couldn't stay silent. The boss came stomping into the conversation with his usual bravado. He fired back, saying the money deal was legit and hinted that 50 was just jealous of his empire. But the internet wasn't buying it. Memes popped up of Ross in a suit labeled IRS agent, with captions like, "Your Honor, I swear it was all lemon pepper money." Another viral meme had Ross photoshopped handing Big Meech a coupon booklet instead of millions. It was savage. But Ross defending himself wasn't enough. Other rappers smelled blood in the water. Meek Mill slid in with cryptic tweets about fake bosses, while Boosie jumped on Instagram Live, yelling so loud his Wi-Fi gave up mid-rant. Of course, you can always count on 50's loyal army of trolls, the G-Unit fanboys too. Keep the clown parade marching. One even made a TikTok skit of Meech checking his bank account and seeing a negative balance with Ross's face as the overdraft fee. The meme spread faster than a Kardashian pregnancy rumor. Twitter threads broke it down like a Netflix documentary, complete with dramatic titles. How $120 million vanished. The Ross conspiracy. TikTok creators reenacted the scandal with wigs, fake jewelry, and sound effects. Instagram gossip. Pages dropped posts every 5 minutes, milking the chaos for likes. It was like a wildfire that nobody wanted to put out. And then came the wildest twist. Fans started dragging Lil Meech into the mix. Yes, Big Meech's son, the actor who plays his dad on 50's BMF series. Suddenly, his name was trending, with people saying, "Bro, how are you acting in a show about your father's empire while he's out here getting clowned in real life?" The irony was too good for the internet to resist. One meme even had Lil Meech holding a script that said, "Season 4, the $120 million scam." Celebrities outside the rap game couldn't resist either. Comedians like Michael Blackson jumped in with jokes, saying the scandal was bigger than the Fire Festival. Even Charlemagne Thaw dedicated a whole Donkey of the Day segment to it, dragging Ross and throwing side-eye at Meech for being caught in the crossfire. The Breakfast Club turned it into a debate, and you know when that happens? The mess has gone mainstream. But here's where it gets truly insane. Conspiracy theories started cooking. Some fans claimed Ross planted the deal as a setup, intentionally, roping Meech in to protect himself. Others whispered that 50 himself leaked the story to fuel drama and boost ratings for his BMF series. And then there were the TikTok detectives who drew arrows on whiteboards like they were solving True Detective, Hip-Hop Edition. They swore this $120 million scandal wasn't about money. It was about power. Meanwhile, public outrage got louder. Fans who once idolized Meech as a street legend started side-eyeing him. They argued that being tied to something that smelled like a scam, even by association, was a stain on his legacy. On the flip side, some defended him fiercely, saying 50 was blowing things out of proportion just to keep his petty crown shiny. The divide was real, and the arguments were nastier than a Thanksgiving dinner fight about politics. And then came the ultimate escalation. 50 doubled down, not satisfied. With one round of clowning, he kept the jokes coming. He posted memes, dropped shady captions, and even hinted that this whole thing might inspire a storyline in BMF. Imagine that. Meech getting dragged in real life and then seeing his humiliation dramatized on TV by 50 Cent himself. Type of petty that belongs in history books. The internet exploded again. Fans begged for 50 to stop, while others cheered him on like he was roasting at the Apollo. One Twitter user wrote, 50 Cent is the Thanos of hip-hop beef. He just collects souls one by one. Another added, if 50 makes this a storyline, Meech is cooked. And here's the wildest part, Meech's silence, while everyone else was throwing shade, cracking jokes, and chasing clout. Meech stayed quiet. No rants, no press statements, no angry subtweets. Just silence. And in the world of hip-hop, silence is scarier than threats. Fans speculated endlessly. Was he plotting? Revenge? Was he ignoring the circus? Or was he just too pissed to speak? The uncertainty only added fuel to the fire. Suddenly, this wasn't just about $120 million. It was about pride, respect, and legacy. Big Meech versus 50 Cent wasn't a battle, it was a collision of two cultural giants. And the internet was treating it like the heavyweight fight of the decade. By now, the memes had reached God tier. One showed Meech at a Monopoly board with Ross saying, "Go directly to scam. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Another viral video edited Ross's ad-lib Maybach music into payback money. The creativity was ruthless, and through all the laughter, one truth became clear. This scandal wasn't fading anytime soon. It was too big, too juicy, too messy. Celebrities were invested, fans were obsessed. And 50 Cent wasn't letting go. The world wasn't just watching anymore. They were waiting. Waiting to see if Meech would finally break his silence, waiting to see if Ross could clear his name, and waiting to see if 50 would take things even further. Because let's be real, if history has taught us anything, it's that when 50 Cent starts clowning, the story doesn't end with a laugh. It ends with careers, reputations, and legacies on the line. And Meech, his legacy had just stepped into the danger zone. By the time the smoke cleared, this wasn't just a $120 million scandal anymore. This was a full-blown war zone where reputations, legacies, millions of dollars were bleeding out in the middle of the culture battlefield. The internet had laughed, the celebrities had piled on, and the memes had gone nuclear. But what happens when the laughing stops? That's where the aftermath hits harder than 50 Cent buying out. Ja Rule's concert seats just to troll him. First up, Big Meech. For decades, his name was untouchable. He was the man, the myth, the legend behind BMF. Rappers shouted his name as a symbol of power, money, and fearlessness. But now, his name was tangled in headlines about scams and clowning sessions from 50. The streets that once crowned him king started debating whether he'd been played, whether he'd lost his edge, or worse, whether his legacy had just taken a permanent hit. The silence didn't help. Meech staying quiet only left room for others to write the story for him. Some saw his silence as strength, a power move that said, "I don't entertain clowns." Others saw it as weakness, like he had no defense against the disrespect. And in the world of hip-hop, perception is reality. People start to believe you got finessed. It doesn't matter if the truth is different. The stain is there. And then there was Rick Ross. Oh, Rosé, for years, he's called himself the boss. Flaunted Maybachs, lemon pepper wings, and an empire built on excess. But when $120 million scandals get attached to your name, the word boss starts sounding like scammer. Its attempts to laugh it off didn't quite land, especially with 50 dragging him every chance he got. For Ross, this wasn't just about memes, this was about credibility. And once the streets start whispering that your empire is built on funny money, it's a harder recovery than trying to explain why you once wore a correctional officer's uniform. But nobody, and I mean nobody, came out of this cleaner than 50 Cent. He walked away from this scandal the same way. It has every beef, grinning like the Joker after blowing up Gotham. He doesn't just roast people, he obliterates them. His petty empire grew stronger, his fan base cheered louder, and his BMF show suddenly had a massive surge in free promotion. Think about it. He turned a $120 million scandal into marketing. For his TV series, that's not just petty, that's billionaire-level chess. The consequences didn't stop there. Promoters started hesitating to attach Meech's name to anything. Media outlets began treating Ross's empire with suspicion, like every dollar needed double-checking. And fans? They were split, like Moses parting the Red Sea. On one side, loyalists who would defend Meech and Ross no matter what. On the other, skeptics who loved the drama too much to let the clowning go. And let's not ignore the impact on the culture. Hip-hop thrives on myth-making. Legends aren't just rappers. They're icons, symbols of hustling against all odds. Big Meech was one of those symbols. But when scandals like this explode, they don't just hit the people involved, they hit the culture's memory. Suddenly, younger fans who only know Meech from 50s BMF series were seeing him dragged across memes as the guy who got finessed. History was being rewritten in real time, not in books, but in tweets and TIK2KS. It was bigger than money now. This was about legacy warfare. 50 was writing the story, Ross was scrambling to keep up. And Meech was watching his name get tossed around like a beach ball at Coachella. And the sad truth: once the internet decides your narrative, it's nearly impossible to change it. The fallout even spilled into relationships. Rumors swirled that Meech's camp was divided, some urging him to clap back, others telling him to stay quiet. Ross's business partners allegedly got cold feet, wondering if his brand could survive another scandal. Even Lil Meech, the actor, couldn't escape the shadow. Imagine starring as your father in a TV show while the internet roasts him daily. It's like being stuck in a soap opera you didn't audition for. By now, the public wasn't just watching. They were judging harshly. They wanted answers, accountability, drama, and above all, they wanted the next chapter. Would Meech finally speak? Would Ross prove the money was clean? Would 50 turn the whole mess into a BMF plotline? Every headline, every post, every whisper was a cliffhanger. And that's the genius and the curse of scandals like this. They don't just end, they mutate, they grow, they linger. Even when the dust settles, the whispers remain. 10 years from now, people might not remember the details. But they'll remember 50 clowning Meech over $120 million. That's the power of pettiness. It etches itself into history, sharper than facts. So here's where we land. Big Meech, legendary but bruised. Rick Ross, rich but questioned. 50 Cent, laughing all the way to the bank. And the culture, stuck in the middle, replaying the memes, debating the legacy, and waiting for the next explosion. Because let's be real, this isn't over, not by a long shot. When egos this big collide, there's always a sequel. And if this was part one of the $120 million saga, the sequel is going to be even messier, louder, and nastier. So grab your popcorn, refresh your timelines, and prepare yourselves. 'Cause in the world of hip-hop beef, legends aren't destroyed in silence. They're destroyed in public, meme by meme, roast by roast, scandal by scandal, and Big Meech. His silence might be powerful, but in the age of 50 Cent's trolling, silence might also be the loudest loss of all. And there you have it, the $120 million circus nobody saw coming, starring Big Meech, Rick Ross, and 50 Cent as the ringmaster of petty. Legends bruised, empires questioned, and memes so savage they deserve their own Grammy category. But now it's your turn. What do you think? Did 50 go too far, clowning Meech? Is Ross the mastermind of the century? Or just the biggest coupon hustler hip-hop's ever seen? Or is Meech really plotting his silent comeback move behind the scenes? Drop your theories in the comments like you're testifying in court, because, let's be real, this case is messier than Maury Povich on a Friday night DNA reveal. I want to see your wildest takes, your craziest conspiracies, and your sharpest roasts. And while you're down there, don't just tap that like button, smash it like 50 Cent smashes egos. Break that subscribe button like it's a $120 million contract with invisible ink. And hit the notification bell like you're ringing Meech's doorbell with a bag of receipts. Because here's the thing, scandals don't sleep, and neither do we. Around here, the drama is 24/7. The tea is bottomless, and the petty is always premium quality. Tomorrow could be another bombshell, another roast, another meltdown that makes this look like child's play. And when it drops, you already know where to be. This is Celeb Oro, where gossip isn't just news, it's an art form. We don't just spill tea, we pour the whole pot, flip the table, and dance in the mess. So buckle up, stay scandalous. And remember, in the world of celebrity drama, facts are optional, but entertainment is mandatory.